Post-apocalyptic, an extremely popular genre in all different kinds of media. Movies, TV shows, literature, paintings, video games. We've been dreaming about the end of the world for hundreds of years now, thinking about all the different ways the world could end, and what crazy scenarios could happen after that. How would the survivors act? Would they attack each other? Help each other? Would they try to rebuild? And because the world hasn't ended yet, the post-apocalypse is an exciting what if. We, as the audience, can sit comfortably in our armchairs, pondering what we might do if it was us in that situation. How many zombies could I take out? Would I share my precious resources or keep them to myself? The backdrop of an apocalypse allows the exploration of important questions about humanity and morality. It's a genre so different to our normal lives, which is probably why we like it so much. But when you think about the post-apocalypse, you might associate it with the words barren, bleak, desolate, overgrown, falling apart, ugly. And I wouldn't blame you. It's easy to focus on all of the ugly parts in the apocalypse. All of the barren landscapes, the rotting cities, the constant struggle for survival, and the death all around you. So you'd be right to think of it as ugly. But I don't think it has to be that way. The post-apocalypse can show us a whole new side of the Earth and humanity that we don't usually see. It can make us appreciate certain things a whole lot more. If you shift your perspective, I think that the post-apocalypse can even be beautiful. By the way, detailed spoiler warnings are in the description, but I'm going to be talking about these games to varying degrees. While most media shows the end of the world as a gloomy wasteland, you know, like Fallout and Metro, there are some games that go the complete other direction and actually have stunning environments. The Talos Principle 2 is a good example of this. The game is set hundreds of years after humanity was wiped out. Their cause of death? Climate change. Or more specifically, overexpansion leading to global warming. Or more specifically, there was a virus frozen deep inside the Arctic ice caps. As the humans kept expanding, the Earth warmed up and set that virus free when the ice melted. Centuries later, the first robot wakes up. And I won't bother telling you how. But they make more robots, and soon enough, there's an entire new civilization of 1,000 robots walking around the uninhabited Earth. But something that surprised me when I played was that the Earth doesn't look like it ended at all. Any signs of overexploitation are gone. If anything, it looks beautiful. The forests are luscious, with rays of light coming in through the leaves up high. The river streams are flowing as they always have. The sun sets over the desert. Animals roam the land freely, unafraid. The game has some of the most incredible and grandiose locations I've ever seen. The scale of everything is massive. Everything in the world is just so large and overpowering. The time it takes for you to physically walk between puzzles can be really long, but I didn't mind. Sometimes I would walk through these environments and take in the sights. I would stray off the path and head into the forest, because they just looked so damn good. Luckily for me, there were secrets to find. While playing, you can even forget that the game is technically post-apocalypse. Over time, the Earth has regrown. It's healed, almost as if it was better off without humans at all, or humans that didn't take good care of it at least. Without them, the planet finally has a chance to breathe and restore itself to its former glory. And that's the version of Earth we get to experience through the eyes of these robot people. A planet that's alive, with an ecosystem that's healthy. In the game, everybody's gone to the Rapture, which we'll talk about later. Kate says,
"This world existed before we came to it, and it will continue without us. We can slip away gently, unafraid, knowing that everything will continue."
Without humans getting in the way, nature can do its thing and grow on its own. The post-apocalypse has the chance to show us a world even better than the one before. Stranding's entire world is stunning. For a game about walking, it's a good thing the environments are an absolute joy to walk through. The ways in which the terrain affects the player and the player interacts with the terrain are so deep and thought out. While you're walking across the country, there are so many different things to keep the traversal engaging, like how the scenery is constantly shifting, from the detailed grassy rocky meadows to the snowy mountaintops, the sharp cliff faces, the mud pools, the rushing waterfalls, the beaches, the beach. There's a lot of variety in the environments, which will require different methods of traversal. Walking over uneven ground will cause you to lose balance. When going up a steep incline, you have to stop and take a breather every now and then. Rivers too deep to walk through will require you to either build a path over the top or find a way around. To scale a mountain, you have to use ladders or place a climbing anchor once you get to the top. This in-depth traversal requires the player to pay attention to and have a deep understanding of the environment, and the dynamic weather system adds another layer of interactivity to the world. Unless you want your cargo to get damaged, you have to wait out the storm in a cave or under a timefall shelter, or you could plan your route ahead of time by checking the forecast. These features work together to create a world which feels self-sufficient. The landscape can be harsh, and it doesn't make things easy for you. It feels as if the world has been here forever, like it isn't just there to serve the player as the backdrop for a video game. The environments show that as much as the Death Stranding impacted the Earth, nature still carries on, with or without humans. In NieR Automata, the android orbital space bunker is presented with a weird black and white filter over it. Seeing the game through this filter at the beginning and hearing stories about the terrible war happening down on Earth, you might think that things are going to look equally as bleak, and so do the androids. But when our protagonists actually head down to Earth, they find a planet so incredibly beautiful and vibrant. The great machine war that they'd heard so much about looks a lot different than expected. All of the different locations have so much color and they look amazing. It's completely different to the bunker. There are many serene moments in the game as you travel across the land, and the angelic soundtrack matches the vibes of the aesthetic to let you soak in all of the sights, like sprinting over the dunes in the vast open desert, or making your way to the village in the forest, or fishing. The scale of the areas is huge, possibly to show how large the world truly is, and reflect that feeling of the androids being just a tiny cog in the machine. The artist responsible for the environmental lighting said that they designed the environments in NieR Automata with an eye towards emphasizing silhouettes through the use of open space. And it really shows. All of the different areas in the game have so much room to run around, which means the world isn't super dense. It is expansive and a lot of the time empty, but not in a boring way. It looks and feels really good, and that's all that matters. Showing the absolute size of Earth seems to be a recurring theme in these post-apocalyptic games. The genre usually has themes of isolation and feeling weak. Presenting nature or Earth as this massive entity is an effective method of reflecting these themes. It is especially effective when nature is what caused the apocalypse. It's not just the Talos Principle, where climate change ended humanity. Nope, there's practically a whole subgenre of post-apocalyptia specifically about just that. Doomsdays that weren't caused by nuclear warfare or zombies, but mankind's unwillingness to slow down or change their ways, which leads to the Earth flooding, heating up, becoming too polluted, or a variety of other things. In a game like this, showing nature as a massive beast reinforces the idea that it is all-powerful, and reminds you just how strong it is. Nature's strength is visible in the abandoned cities, where the roads have cracked and tree roots start to pop out. Plants begin to grow on the side of buildings. Everything man-made begins to fall apart and get reclaimed by nature. Entire nations are now underwater, and billions of people are dead. Because of something we could have prevented, something we should have prevented. What if we did prevent it? With the end of the world comes an appreciation for what we had before, a certain kind of reflection, regret, or nostalgia. The post-apocalypse is about having all social structures and norms that you rely on taken away, then finding a way to move forward and live without them. When the survivors of an apocalypse have nothing, it makes them appreciate the little things more. It also allows for a lot of reflection to the times when they had everything. And there's a kind of beauty in this reflection, like those remember when chats you have with your friends. Remember when we did this? That was fun. Tony Soprano might have said that it's the lowest form of conversation, but he's wrong. Come on, who doesn't like thinking back to the good old days, reminiscing on good memories and laughing at the funny ones? Reflection is a great thing, and Golf Club Nostalgia is a game entirely about reflecting on the past. The game is set in a future where an ecological disaster caused Earth to be uninhabitable. The wealthier part of humanity has fled to Tesla City on Mars. A little on the nose, don't you think? The rest of humanity down on Earth eventually died due to the harsh climate. Our protagonist is Charlie, one of the Mars mission rocket pilots, who shepherded the wealthy to their new home. The plan was to come back in a couple of years and pick up the rest of the survivors, including his wife. But that never happened. Now, what is left of Earth has been rebuilt into a golf course. Oh, yeah. Charlie has come back to Earth for the first time to play a nice, relaxing solo game of golf. Over the wreckage in the abandoned city of Alphaville, he swings, he flies, he listens to the radio. Yep, up on the red planet they've got their own radio station, called
Radio Nostalgia from Mars.
And this will play in the background throughout the entire game. They have a bunch of great songs in the soundtrack covering all kinds of genres. But the most interesting part is what happens in between the music. The radio station has a host to introduce the next song, but there will also be other interjections, like public safety warnings, which sound a little bit worrying until the European guy on the mic is like, hey, don't worry about it, everything is fine. They also have messages from the people living on Mars, and this is the most compelling part. It's how the game's world is explained to the player. We don't actually get to see Tesla City. All we get are these little messages which drip feed us information over the course of the game. Over the golf course of the game? Joke? From what we hear, life on Mars isn't that good. People are alive and comfortable enough, but the colony just doesn't have the same charm as Earth, and the people living there are missing a lot of the conveniences that they took for granted before. People have to pee into a funnel next to the toilet, because all liquid is recycled and then used for showers and drinking water. Showers, by the way, that are limited to only 30 seconds. Everybody has to eat dried food. You can't go outside without a suit on or your blood will boil. Everybody is addicted to a stress-relieving drink/pill called OMAS, which is a major sponsor of Radio Nostalgia. Speaking of nostalgia, everybody's feeling it pretty hard due to these living conditions. Each one of the callers in the game tell their story, and they all feel some kind of nostalgia for life on Earth. They talk about their old jobs, the people they knew, friends and family, drunken romances on a night out, all the luxuries of their old life. One caller feels nostalgia for all of the smells back home, and reminds herself of Earth by singing.
Fueron tus manos o tu voz.
Another caller just had a baby, and it pains her that they may never be able to experience her home planet. One of the final callers in the game is especially vocal about her displeasure of the way things are on Mars.
I'd go back in a heartbeat. Tesla City is unbearable. As far as I'm concerned, this promised land is anything but a dictatorship without oxygen. All these daily routines and protocols about everything we took for granted on Earth are so exhausting. Is it safe to take off your hazmat to breathe? Is the water distilled from all our urine really safe? And exactly what behavior will trigger a social credit demotion?
She misses the big city and reflects by listening to the sounds of an urban life. Of all the stories we hear in the game, none are positive about life on Mars. All of the callers feel a kind of sadness, as if to say, was it even worth it? Now back to our boy Charlie. As he's golfing through the remains of Alphaville, he is the only person on Earth, completely isolated. And isolation like this will cause deep reflection. In his diary entries, he writes about memories from the past, both good and bad. The golf course takes him through the station where he launched the rocket and carried away the survivors, as well as through the building his wife used to work in. Charlie has nobody to interact with, surrounded by only the remains of his previous home planet. All he can do is reflect, wonder if all of this had to happen. Maybe it was possible for things to play out differently. This kind of isolation can be seen in Death Stranding as well. When you're doing a delivery mission, Sam is completely alone, minuscule compared to the massive world around him. And when you're not being attacked by BTs, this solitude is almost meditative. All you've got is your cargo and your thoughts. Walking from coast to coast gives you time to think. At the end of Golf Club Nostalgia, Charlie takes off his helmet and breathes in the air. And eventually this will kill him. But he's okay with that. He had always planned for this to be his final trip to Earth. Up there, even though he was surrounded by people, Charlie felt far more alone than he ever did during this game of golf. He was back where he belonged, where we all belong. Charlie's reflective journey and all the messages on the radio share a common belief. Instead of running away to a new planet, we should have put more effort into taking care of the one we had. And only through reflection and nostalgia were they able to reach this conclusion. To Charlie, dying on Earth is better than living on Mars. So, the world has ended. Nearly everybody is dead. Potentially all of your friends and family are gone. In a time like this, it wouldn't be strange to feel alone, like the survivors in Golf Club Nostalgia. And this feeling makes one thing above all the most important: connections. Luckily, I don't have to search very hard to find a game that exemplifies this trait. Hideo Kojima made the perfect game for me to talk about, one of my favorites of all time. Every single aspect of Death Stranding, from the gameplay to the story, represents the overarching theme of connection and its importance. You play as Sam Porter Bridges, son of the president and the most important mailman in the universe. You've been tasked with traveling across the whole of America to basically save the world, and at the same time connect everyone to Wi-Fi. I'm being serious. With the Death Stranding, which is the name of the extinction event, came a new mineral, chiralium, which in turn led to the chiral network, basically super Wi-Fi. As you journey from coast to coast, you connect all the major cities and minor outposts to the chiral network with hopes of rebuilding the country. You're literally uniting the United States. Working for a company called Bridges. Your mum's name is Bridget. The theme of the game can't be shown much clearer than that. But we haven't even scratched the surface. In order to show the importance of human connection and the effect that it has, Death Stranding has moments of isolation throughout the game to make the moments of connection that much more impactful. Sam has a condition called aphanphosmphobia, the fear of being touched. The condition was caused by a lack of closeness to his family as a child. He overcame the condition when he met his wife, but regressed after she died along with their unborn child. So at the beginning of the game, our protagonist is scared of connecting with people, yet ironically, he's the only one capable of uniting the country. This next part is crazy because it wasn't intended at all, but it made everybody playing feel the isolation 100 times stronger. Death Stranding released right before the COVID-19 pandemic, and the PC release date, which is when I played it, that was smack bang in the middle of it all. I, like a lot of other people, was playing this game while trapped at home, which brings a whole new meta level of isolation to the game. A plot which a lot of people called ridiculous on launch seemed a whole lot more realistic just a couple months later. Now, Kojima did come out and deny the claims of him predicting the pandemic, but he did rewrite the plot of Death Stranding 2 after the pandemic, saying, "I didn't want to predict any more future, so I rewrote it." Hell yeah. Hey, quickly interrupting here to say that I wrote an essay for university about the post-apocalypse at the same time I was writing this video. I turned that essay into its own video called "Why Do We Keep Creating Post-Apocalypses?" And that video is up on Patreon right now. So after you finish watching this one, there's some bonus content for you to check out if you feel like it. Link in the description. Now back to the video. To contrast the isolation, there are moments of connection throughout your travels. Very rarely, you'll find some other porters, friendly NPCs that just walk around making deliveries, doing the same thing as you. They're not very common at all. It's not like you're gonna find them every time you do a delivery. If you're lucky, you'll maybe see them a few times during your playthrough. And it's refreshing. They pull you out of your solitude. For a brief moment, you can stop and say, "Oh my gosh, hey." They'll offer you a piece of cargo, maybe a ladder or some boots or whatever, and you can return the favor by dropping something from your backpack. They'll give you a like and go on their merry way. The porters aren't very useful at all. They don't have much functionality, but they're neat. They make the world feel more alive, and remind you that you're never completely alone. They're also relatable because they will stumble across rivers the same way that Sam does. The coolest part of Death Stranding is the online play. There's no battle royale mode, but there is an asynchronous multiplayer happening throughout your game. As long as you're playing with internet, you can interact with other people's world and they can interact with yours, without you actually meeting any of these people. To climb a mountain, you might place down a ladder, and the ladder will stay there throughout your entire playthrough, which is helpful if you ever need to climb the same mountain again. But that ladder you placed can also appear in other people's world in the same place. If there's a raging river, you might build a bridge to get to the other side, and that bridge helps not only yourself, but other players too. It applies for every structure in the game. Generators, timefall shelters, watchtowers, zip lines, even vehicle and cargo you leave lying around will show up in other players' games. And of course, it works the other way around too. Once you've connected a region to the chiral network, online play is enabled for that area. Your future travels will be aided by fellow porters around the world. It's cool to see where other people thought to place structures, and finding a generator right when your bike is about to run out of battery is a godsend. It also shows that, hey, someone else ran out of battery in the same place as me, once again proving that you're not really alone. If you drink too much Monster Energy like I do in real life, Sam's gonna have to pee. If multiple players pee in the same spot, some holographic mushrooms will grow, and once enough people pee there, the mushrooms will attract cryptobiotes, which can be used to restore health. The same thing happens with resting. If enough players rest in the same location, a holographic cairn will form, which decreases the stamina recovery time. You can't actually see other players, but you can feel their presence. The online play in Death Stranding makes you feel like you are a part of something larger than yourself, and there's nothing that exemplifies this more than building the roads in the game. Roads make deliveries a lot easier. They provide a straightforward path for your truck to drive on without having to go over rocky terrain. They even give you a speed boost and charge your vehicle at the same time, but they're expensive to make. It requires a lot of materials to build only a section of the road. You can do it by yourself, but that would be really hard. You'd have to take all the materials from a bunch of different cities and lug them all the way back to the road. To make things easier, you can work communally with other players to build the roads. If you just put in some materials, it'll help other players' highways get built. And when they put in materials, it'll help your highways get built too. You can work together in this sort of group project to make things easier for everyone. When you use a structure from another player, you get given the option to like it. You can mash the button as many times as you want for a few seconds. You can't dislike anything because Kojima wanted to keep things entirely positive. In such a dark world, why not have a system that brings people together? He also wanted to create a system different from modern social media, which has a like and dislike button. Unlike social media, you also get to give as many likes as you want within the time limit. You can smash that like button just like you guys watching this video should do right now. Likes don't do anything at all. Beside being a big number on your profile that shows how awesome you are, they're a sign of gratitude. They just symbolize the fact that you helped somebody out. When my bike runs out of battery and I find that perfectly placed charging station, I'm gonna stand there for a few seconds and go, because this person helped me out, without even knowing it. It didn't cost me anything, I just want to thank them for being helpful, and it makes me want to be helpful as well. When you're playing Death Stranding, you'll get little messages on the screen that say, player liked your structure, player used a road you helped to build, and these are really nice. It makes you feel as if you really are making a difference with these people that you're connecting with. Even if I can't see the people I'm helping, the messages are brimming with hope. If everybody works together like I have with other players, maybe this post-apocalyptic America can be rebuilt. Everybody's Gone to the Rapture takes place in the village of Yorton Valley in 1984, exactly 37 minutes post-apocalypse. In the game, you walk through the village right after its final moments. The world is frozen in time. All of the clocks read 6:07 p.m. This snapshot of human life is hauntingly beautiful. The signs of life are still there. You can tell what each person was doing right before the end. Cigarettes are smoking in ashtrays. Laundry is still on the line, flowing in the wind. There are picnic blankets out in the park. 1 second everybody was here, but now everybody's gone. The world ended because of a weird sci-fi alien thing, which is turning people into light. But the focus of the game is not about logically explaining how or why the end came. It's much more interested in showing you the lives of the village people. Throughout the game, the light shows you their memories. You get to know all of the townsfolk and play out their final days. The web of relationships between these characters is deeply woven. It gets a little messy, there are some affairs going on. Looking at this relationship graph, I still don't even understand the intricacies of it all, but what I do understand is that the game shows our desire to connect with others. Especially in their final moments, the villagers are drawn together, seeking comfort and relatability in the shared experience they're having. With some knowledge that the end might be coming soon, they're most concerned about their relationships. Each chapter in the game focuses on a specific character and their connection to another. When the end eventually came, Stephen had Lizzie and their unborn child, Frank had his wife Mary, Wendy had her husband Eddie, Rachel and Reese had a teen romance, Jeremy had his church and his relationship with God. The approaching doomsday caused people to understand that what matters most is the connections you have. Everybody found their other, except for Kate. Kate is an American scientist who came to Yorton to work at the observatory. Being an outsider, she never really fit in with the rest of the villagers. They're not too fond of her. Much like Sam in Death Stranding, Kate feels isolated from everybody else. She's the one who discovered the alien ball of light, which she names the Pattern. As everybody is spending their final days together, she locks herself in the observatory to study the pattern. In the final chapter of the game, Kate is the final villager alive, and the pattern has shown her memories from across the whole village, the same memories the player has seen throughout the game. She comes to the conclusion that this alien being has a desire to connect, just like everybody else. It feels alone just like she does. Kate and the pattern understand each other. They're alike. So in the end, Kate realizes that she isn't actually going into the afterlife alone, and she finds solace in that fact.
The end is coming now. I'm not afraid. We have each other. Everybody found their other. This pattern is mine.
Both of these games show the importance of your connections, especially during a time as grim as the end of the world. Both games want to get across the point that the connections you make will outlive you. Like Cliff says in Death Stranding, you are a bridge to the future. And like Kate says in Everybody's Gone to the Rapture, the light that we cast transcends our deaths. Both of the games want you to think about the significance of the connections that you make. In an interview, Kojima stated that he hopes Death Stranding makes you think deeply about what it means to be connected to someone else. Whether you decide to visit family you haven't seen in some time, or are just a little nicer to the delivery person the next time they drop off a package. In the darkest of times, your bonds mean so much more, which is why in these post-apocalyptic worlds, we can see the beauty of human connection everywhere. A lot of media focuses on the darker side of humanity during an apocalypse. You know, when the world comes tumbling down, people will reveal their true self and stop acting all goody-goody. Humans were the real monsters all along. While this may be true to some degree, there's also a lot of post-apocalyptic fiction that focuses on the goodness of people, showing how they come together in these dark times to support one another. Their homes are gone, but they create new forms of civilization. Instead of hoarding their limited resources, they share. The survivors collaborate and cooperate, not just for themselves, but for the betterment of humanity. Despite all of our flaws and all of our past wrongdoings, we have a desire to help, rebuild, and exist. The post-apocalyptic setting can be a method to show the inherent goodness in humans, and demonstrate the indomitable human spirit that can never be quelled. Earlier I posed the idea that perhaps the Earth is better off without humans. In their absence, nature is able to regrow healthily without us tapping it for resources. But no game disagrees with this more vehemently than the Talos Principle 2. Throughout the game, there are so many quotes, text files, and audio logs about the beauty in humanity, the importance of us simply being around to see things.
Without us, there can be no meaning. Without someone to perceive it, the beauty of the universe is pointless. We are the light of the cosmos, and if we go out, there will be nothing but a cold, dark machine.
The game truly believes that we are special, more than any other species alive right now. It talks about all of the things that set us apart from the rest. We have a unique ability to perceive and appreciate the beauty of the universe around us. We have creativity, we made art. There's a whole audio log talking about how animals couldn't direct Big Trouble in Little China or create the White Album. Our consciousness is what makes humanity so great. The team of scientists from the old world created this new race of humans because they truly believed this and wanted humanity to live on. A major plot point in the game is that some of the robots have started to create newer, better robots. The robot creators have the same belief as the team of scientists, and they say,
to bring a new life into existence is fundamentally good because human beings are unique and valuable, and every single one of them enriches the universe just by existing.
If you haven't gotten it by now, the game really believes that humans are the best. The scientists did admit that, yeah, there were some dumb humans too, who miraculously managed to get into positions of power. Incredibly stupid people you wouldn't even trust to tie their own shoes. And while the Earth may have been wiped out largely due to the actions of these few people, the game never comes to the conclusion that humanity is bad. It always maintains the hopeful perspective that
humanity is awesome.
The Talos Principle 2 has a clear message, that our human uniqueness, along with our ability to create and connect, gives meaning to the universe. For this reason, we need to cherish our presence. Despite all of our past mistakes, we need to persevere and continue living. NieR Automata also deals with these themes, but unlike Talos 2, the characters in NieR start the game off unsure what the meaning of their existence actually is. Humanity was wiped out from Earth thousands of years ago by alien machines, and the few remaining humans fled to the moon. The year is now 11,945, right in the middle of the 14th Machine War. Humans have sent an army down to Earth to fight back and reclaim the planet. These androids, not to be confused with machines, are built in humanity's image, much like the robots in Talos Principle 2. They're part of an organization named Yorha, and they have one purpose: to fight the machines for the glory of mankind. The proxy war has gone on for thousands of years without any side claiming victory. The machines eventually wiped out their alien creators in order to evolve. But with the aliens out of the picture, do they need to fight the androids anymore? They have no idea what to do. How do they live without their one purpose? So they begin to mimic ancient human traditions in order to evolve further, imitating the act of reproduction, raising children, hanging out at the amusement park for fun. But some of the machines begin to doubt their purpose entirely. They disconnect from their hive mind network and live their own lives, creating their own factions. There's the pacifist village in the forest, and some type of religious collective underneath the factory. All the areas in NieR Automata are brimming with life. Not human life, but something similar. Instead of mindlessly fighting, some of the machines and androids have begun to settle down on Earth, creating their own structures and camps. And there's beauty in the rebuilding of this empty world. After everything has been taken away, there's now an appreciation for the ability to look forward and rebuild for the improvement of all humanity. The Earth is now an empty canvas for a fresh start. The locations in the game could have been grey-filtered Call of Duty war zones, but instead they're lively and vibrant areas that show humanity's ability to create and desire to persevere even under dire circumstances. There's a beauty in being alive, and even in the post-apocalypse, people want to be cooperative to help the rest of mankind. I'm going to talk about the end of the game now, without mentioning the story or the context around it, and if you don't want it spoiled for you, go ahead to this timestamp. The final credit sequence in NieR Automata is actually a really tough bullet hell minigame, where you have to destroy the credits as they try to destroy you. A metaphor for rejecting the ending that was given to you, or whatever. Throughout the game, the player will have done plenty of these bullet hell minigames, so it's not that out of the ordinary. They've probably gotten pretty good at them, but this one is hard and long. There are checkpoints, but the difficulty here is still insane. Every time you die, the game prompts you with a question. Is it all pointless? Do you admit there is no meaning to this world? Along with the question, there are messages from other real players from all over the world who have been in the same situation as you. They send you messages like,
"My voice may not reach you, but fight for what's important to you."
I saw this through to the end. One thing is certain, you're not the only one.
Who are you? In any case, I'm rooting for you.
In these moments, you see how others come together to give you words of encouragement when you need it most. Eventually, after dying a few times, you'll be asked if you want to receive help, and if you do accept, these other players who have left motivational messages for you will swarm around your ship, providing backup. The credit music Weight of the World now plays in a bunch of different languages, and even includes the voices of the developers who made the game. With the combined strength of others who are willing to help, the near impossible bullet hell is now a cakewalk. After completing it, you get the choice to help out another player who's struggling in the final credits. You get to become one of those ships to help someone finish the game, but in order to do this, all of your save data will be deleted. The game reminds you that you won't even know who this person is. You won't be thanked for your choice. It might be someone you don't even like. Despite all of that, do you still wish to help? And if you're not a dick, of course you say yes. You understand the difficulty of doing that task alone. Of course you want to help another person get through it, much like building a helpful bridge in Death Stranding. The ending of NieR Automata underscores the fact that there are people out there willing to help, and you should help others too. Especially during a challenging period, like the post-apocalypse, the shared struggles of everyone can unite them. If we help each other, we can overcome any challenge and create a new, better world.
A future is not given to you. It is something you must take for yourself.
The ending shows the inherent goodness in humanity. There are people out there willing to erase all of their hard work, unlocking items and finishing quest lines, just to help out a fellow human they don't even know, giving up everything so someone else can have a better future. It's a beautiful ending that also shows the importance of perseverance, which relates to our final topic. Every piece of post-apocalyptic media has a common theme, whether its environment be bleak or bright, whether it be a zombie outbreak or an ecological disaster. They all want to show the audience the beauty in hope, even the darker, uglier stories, with brutal deaths and freaky monsters, like The Last of Us, The Walking Dead, Metro 2033. They too display hope. It's the reason people try to survive at all, even if they have to live in a dirty old train tunnel. It's the reason people band together and start rebuilding their own civilizations. They have the hope that one day humanity will be able to return to the way it was, or even something better. The characters don't just lay down and die, because they haven't given up hope. In the book Yesterday's Tomorrows, on Utopia and Dystopia, Annette Majid writes that,
post-apocalyptic fiction often reflects hopeful celebrations of human ingenuity in their detailing how people start over again. Since most apocalyptic scenarios are used to project social criticism, the element of hope is intrinsic in human nature.
Even though terrible things have happened in the past, and perhaps might happen again, the characters still believe in a brighter tomorrow. In fact, the word post-apocalypse is inherently hopeful in and of itself. Just by existing, the stories convey that the end is not the end. These narratives suggest that a doomsday, no matter how disastrous, doesn't mean the end of human life, because they are fundamentally full of hope, and believe that we could persevere through any problem that comes our way. In the Talos Principle 2, the characters are terrified of expanding their civilization too much, as that's how the old humanity was wiped out. In Death Stranding, the characters have a lot to be afraid of. The BTs, Timefall, and Voidouts make a world where people are afraid of leaving isolation. In NieR Automata, the characters are worried they will end up just the same as they always have. But in all of these examples, hope shines through. There's no point being stuck in a state of arrested development. The characters in the games do expand, connect, and persevere, because the hope for good things is always stronger than the fear of bad things. The genre shows that there is a potential for redemption, even in humanity's darkest time. At first glance, post-apocalyptic media may appear to be one of the bleakest genres out there, but instead of focusing on how grim things can get, it actually shows the beauty in what could be, using the unique setting not just to show a decrepit world, but a world with hope for a brighter future. The stories show the beauty in nature and humanity, the importance of reflection and connection, and display hope, which radiates through the fourth wall to fill the audience with the same feeling.
I never quite realized how beautiful this world is.
Thanks for watching this video all the way to the end. I appreciate it. I tried something different, and this is definitely the biggest project I've ever worked on. So let me know if you like it. There is one more beauty I didn't mention, and that is the beauty in liking this video and subscribing to the channel. Also, leave a comment down below because that really helps with the algorithm. If you don't have anything to say, just tell me what your favorite post-apocalyptic game is. If you want to support the channel and watch the companion video I mentioned earlier, my Patreon link is in the description. For a few dollars, you can buy me a monster and watch all of the bonus content over there. Thank you to my patrons for supporting the channel: Liam Blackford, Owen Freer, Rian, and Crafting the Music. Thank you for watching.
July.